There are only two man-made objects you can see from outer space. One is the Great Wall of China, and the other is Southern California's Salton Sea. One is the result of the work of hundreds of thousands of laborers over 2,000 years, and the other is the result of a gigantic mistake. We've been building and making things ever since we stumbled out of paradise. Some of them are incredible continuations of God's creation, while others are simply ambitious catastrophes. We continue making, but we've lost ourselves in the process. So how do we find ourselves again? Rebuild our connections to each other, the earth, maybe even God. This is the Great Wall of China and the Salton Sea, Monuments, Missteps, and the Audacity of Ambition podcast. I'm the Reverend Russell.
I'm Jonathan.
And this is the first episode of our podcast in preparation for my book that's coming out on January 17th from Erdman's.
What are we going to do each podcast?
So each podcast, we are going to read some excerpts so you can hear the book. We're going to talk a little bit about the themes in the book. We're going to call up some people. We're going to give some cooking tips and, not cooking tips. It's to let you know more about this book, The Great Wall of China and the Salton Sea, Monuments, Missteps, and the Audacity of Ambition, which comes out on January 17th, but is available for pre-order now.
Where can you order it?
Wherever you can pre-order a book, and don't just think the obvious places right away. I bet you could even pre-order it from your local independent bookstore.
Give the name of the publisher again.
Erdman's and Sons publisher. Yeah, it's got two E's. It's spelled weird, but maybe, I don't know. It's normal for spelling.
Oh, then spell it.
Yeah, I don't know how to spell it.
Just Google it.
Yeah, Google it. Yeah, I think Google it. I should know how to spell it.
I'll be the spelling guy.
Yeah, E-R-R.
Oh, is it?
E-E-R. That's how you spell it. I got it right here in front of me.
Oh,
yeah.
I'm sorry.
Yeah, it's a whole catalog from the actual. Yeah.
No, I'm not very smart, but one thing I know how to do is spell.
Yeah,
it's kind of terrible. EERDMANS.com. Erdman's.
Did you just make up the .com part?
I don't know.
You just implied. I don't know.
I don't know.
It won't be hard to find. You could just search. If you just search the Great Wall of China and the Salton Sea, it's going to come up.
The publisher's name is Erdman's, yes.
Because I don't think those two things are, put together very often.
Okay.
All right. From space, it's hard to tell the monumental from the missteps. Even down here on Earth, it's not that easy. We've been building things and making stuff since we stumbled out of paradise. Our hard-working forebears built shelters, walls, tribes, and empires. They made roads, borders, and grand structures, and some pretty big messes. All that eagerness to go forth and establish makes it hard to stop and consider how a venture might end up. With the benefit of history and its interpreters, we should have better insight into what makes the difference between creating a jewel in our crown and constructing a bewildering catastrophe that threatens our existence.
I've got this is the second time we recorded this. I've got a clip of from our first time that was you on the phone. What's the idea here, Russell?
Well, I thought I have this book coming out, and I want to celebrate it. I want people to buy it, and that's why we're doing this podcast. But I also thought I just don't want it to be about me. So I thought, what we could do each episode? Let's call a local bookstore. Anywhere in Madison, Wisconsin, or Lincoln, Nebraska, and call them up and just say, hey, tell me about your bookstore.
Oh, so we're going to call up like a Barnes & Noble out there or something?
No, all independent local bookstores. And we call them up and we go like, yeah, I want to tell people, if you're in Lincoln, Nebraska, you should go to this bookstore and buy it from these guys. So just, bring it along, because I love to promote local bookstores, right? I mean,
let's do it.
I love bookstores, right? That's how we discovered so many amazing things.
Sitting around a bookstore where there's a cat in the window,
right? Yeah,
and reading an old book for me, like about electronics or something. I mean, nothing could be better.
Nothing could be better. So I wanted to promote that. So here we tried to call. Here's from the tape. Here's the tape.
Well, here's what I got. This is us trying to call. Here it is.
Yeah.
Hi. Yeah, my name is Russell, and I do a podcast about an upcoming book release I have in January. And part of this podcast is I call up independent bookstores throughout the country and just ask them to just tell me a little bit about your bookstore. So then I say, if you're going to buy my book, you should go. If you're in Iowa City, you should go to this bookstore and buy it. I'm wondering would you just answer a few questions for me?
Actually, our normal process for vetting books is to have you send either a pre-release copy or a copy of the book in. We can take a look at it and then determine whether or not we're going to have it in the store.
Well, okay, let's forget that part.
That predates us doing advertising and things like that.
Okay, so let's just take my book out of it and just say, I just want you to tell me, like, what does your bookstore look like? How long have you been there? You know, where are you? What's the vibe of your bookstore is all I want to forget my book.
Well, like I say, why don't you send the book? We'll take a look at it.
All right.
You've already said you were going to do a podcast and things, which means you probably would record the information and then use it on the podcast, whether I like the book or not, which actually kind of
I see what you're
process.
saying.
We'd like to see the book first.
Okay, because, if you didn't, like you wouldn't be associated with it. I totally understand that. Well, thank you for your time.
You're welcome. Take care.
Bye.
That guy didn't want anything to do with you.
No, I think you were right that he was probably just intelligent.
No, it makes sense. I mean, you could be just any schmo who wrote a.
Yeah, he doesn't know what I'm about. So I'm going to read an excerpt.
Oh, okay. What is it about?
Oh, yeah. It comes from actually right at the beginning of the book and kind of lays out the underlying themes, I guess. It lays out the themes. So here it is, coming to you.
On a dusty road.
I was going to say that. Chapter 1. There are only two man-made objects you can see from outer space. One is the Great Wall of China, and the other is the Salton Sea. One is the result of the work of hundreds of thousands of laborers over 2,000 years, and the other is the result of a gigantic mistake. My freshman year of college, my mom and dad and younger sister and brother moved to Brawley, one of the original 5 towns laid out by the Imperial Land Company. I lived there on a 2-year hiatus from college. I had to quit and pay off my tuition bill before I could start up again. I grew up in the city, love public transportation, and get a little scared at night when I'm camping in the wilderness. Imperial Valley was like no other place I had even a reference for. The built environment barely made a mark on the landscape. Every road, shed, or taco stand started losing its battle with the elements the moment it was built. There was scorching sun, buckling heat, torrid wind, baked earth, and every other built and living thing trying to survive them. I don't remember who first told me the Salton Sea creation story because I heard it so many times when I was living in the Imperial Valley. Every time I thought, is there any way to live through a mistake that catastrophic? Do you have to try to disappear or hope your shame is diluted in the flood or pray that somewhere, somehow, someone else on the planet, someone else is screwing up in a more flamboyant way than you? What is it like to have such a grand ambition and fall on such a grand scale? These men thought they were making their mark on the world. They would be remembered for the greatness of their achievement, harnessing Mother Nature and bending her will for the good of humanity. And they did leave a mark on the earth, 15 miles wide, 35 miles long, and 80 feet deep. As I said, I don't remember if I first heard the story from Luther Grass or Amos Jones or Frank Slaughter's dad, but whoever told me, it nearly always started the same way. There are only two man-made objects you can see from outer space. One is the Great Wall of China, and the other is the Salton Sea. Sometimes that would be all that was said. Really, I would respond. That's amazing. Other times, I got the whole story. Every telling was a little different, more or less detail, more or less drama, depending on the storyteller. Luther Grass was Cherokee. I don't remember the story of how he ended up in the Imperial Valley, but there weren't a lot of Cherokee in Brawley. But he was a retired chemist for the Imperial Irrigation District. One time we were talking after church about school or something, and I told him that I'd never taken a chemistry class because it just didn't seem like it would be very interesting. I know, but I was only 24, and I hope my remark wasn't as rude or arrogant as it sounds now. Luther just smiled and said he didn't know why I wouldn't be interested in the building blocks of every living thing. He was the most understated, eloquent storyteller. Amos Jones, the retired Brawley fire chief, had been a bad boy in the 40s, driving his motorcycle through the desert at 100 miles an hour. He showed me how to kick a latch chain-link fence gate in the right spot so it would fly open and you wouldn't even have to slow down if you were running to rescue someone or put out a fire. He had me practice on the gate behind the church. Amos was a gregarious, charming man. When he told the story, he filled it with a lot of detail and a lot of action. No matter who told the story, a glint of pride shined behind the tale, even though it was a tale of incredible hubris and a colossal natural disaster. Was it purely hometown pride, the kind of pride you would show if you could say, Judy Garland's uncle used to live around here? Or was it something about the association with the scale of the mistake, a dark pride? Maybe for folks in the desert, the association with the Great Wall of China gives the Salton Sea a kind of exotic flavor, or the impression that it's sort of a runner-up to one of the seven wonders of the world. Maybe it's just the fact that there are only two man-made objects you can see from outer space. One is the Great Wall of China, and the other is the Salton Sea. You can see them from space. And maybe every retelling of the tale is like an inching ever closer to the object. So if anyone up there is looking down, they'll notice the teller, notice me standing next to it. Maybe it's not pride, dark or otherwise. Maybe it's an unconscious desire to be seen, to be connected to something big enough to matter. The Great Wall of China and the Salton Sea, monuments, missteps, and the audacity of ambition. Like me on Facebook. Follow me on the Instagram and the Twitter to find out more about this podcast and about the book that's coming out from Erdman's on January 17th, and you can pre-order it now wherever you can pre-order books. You can even pre-order it from your local independent bookstore. So thank you for listening.
Well, thanks, Russell. That's all for this time.
Hey, thank you.